Good morning to all of you. Am I audible?
Morning.
Okay. Okay. So we have started particle swarm optimization, and we have actually discussed the introductory part of the particle swarm optimization. Now, we'll discuss in brief that what is meant by the constraint optimization and what is the meaning of the unconstrained optimization. Okay. So constraint optimization, it is basically something from the name. It is clear that there should be some constraint on the problem. Okay. So constraint means something which we are actually about to satisfy those conditions. For example, let us say you have to move from city A to city B, but there is a condition that you are supposed to move through a path where you are supposed to travel through city C. Okay. So that means city C is the condition that everybody should travel through that path. Okay. So in mathematical problem also, suppose let us say some condition it is given in the problem and you are about to satisfy that condition, and after satisfying those conditions, whatever solutions you are getting, that is known as basically constraint optimization. So many optimization problems require that some of the decision variables satisfy certain limitations. For instance, all the variables must be non-negative. So there will be certain conditions of the decision variables or the variables which you are going to optimize. So those variables are supposed to satisfy certain conditions which will be given in the problem. So such type of problems are said to be constraint optimization problem. So for example, minimize fx equal to, if you are going to minimize fx, where x, there are n number of variables, x1, x2, x3 up to xn. So a function is there. So that function consists of n number of variables that starts from x1 and up to xn. Subject to gmx is less than equal to 0, where m is 1 to up to ng. So let us say these are the conditions. Subject to means this is the actually condition. HMX should be equal to 0, okay, where m equal to ng plus 1 ng up to ng plus nh. So these are the basically conditions. So forget about the expression, what is GM, what is HM. So basically we would like to understand this thing. Basically, there are certain conditions in the problem. Those conditions we are about to satisfy. And based on those conditions, whatever solutions we are getting, that is basically known as the constraint optimization. Now here another example is there. Minimize the function fx equal to 100 into x2 minus x1 square, then whole square plus 1 minus x1 whole square. Subject to. So this is the condition. This is the condition. X1 plus x2 square should be greater than equal to 0, and x1 square plus x2 should be greater than equal to 0, where x1 is between minus 0.5 to plus 0.5 and x2 is less than equal to 1. So suppose this function is given to you and you are supposed to calculate what is the minimum value of this particular function fx. Okay, so it is not very easy to calculate. If it is asked that you, with the help of pen and paper, you do this task, you can do this, but it will take some time. But that iterative process, if you have to solve with the help of pen and paper, that takes time. So rather we are taking some kind of the soft computing techniques or the artificial intelligence technique, which will actually be able to calculate with the help of computer. That means some algorithm will be there. Those algorithms will actually work on the computer, and the computer will calculate what is the minimum value. So here the solution is given. You are supposed to satisfy these three conditions. Okay, this is the first condition, this is second, and this is the variable should lie between minus 0.5 to plus 0.5, and x2 should be less than or equal to 1. So here the solution, whatever we'll get, okay, the minimum value of this function, that is after this computation process, that is x should be equal to, that is x1 should be 0.5 and x2 should be 0.25, and this fx value should be equal to 0.25. So that means if you substitute this value here, you will get 0.25. So this is the way actually we are trying to get this minimum value of that particular function, and what is the corresponding decision variable. So these are the x1 and x2, these are the basically decision variables. These are variables which are actually you are going to optimize, and you are minimizing this function, but the function is dependent on the decision variables x1 and x2. So when you are minimizing this fx, you are actually minimizing this x1 and x2 also. So based on these x1 and x2 values, you are calculating what is the value of fx. Okay, is it clear what is constraint optimization? Any doubt? Are you following what I am telling? I'm not getting your voice. Hello, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Next is the unconstrained optimization. Now, unconstrained, from the term, it is clear that there should not be any constraint in the problem. There should not be any constraint in the problem. The problem is independent of any constraint. Okay, so here you see this subject to this type of condition should not be there in the unconstrained optimization. So that means the decision variable can lie within the whole search space. Okay, there is no such limitation. That means between minus infinity to plus infinity, the whole space is free for that particular variable. So the variables can move here and there, and based on that, whatever solutions we are getting between minus infinity to plus infinity, so basically that is the the optimum value of that particular function. Okay, so many optimization problem place no restrictions on the values of that can be assigned to the variables of the problem. So the feasible space is simply the whole search space. So that means the whole search space, it is free, and within that search space the variables can move, and basically we'll be able to calculate what is the optimized value. So such types of problems are said to be unconstrained optimization problems. So now we'll understand what is the global and what is the local optimizer. So let us consider a function y equal to fx. That function is given x to the power 4 minus 12x cubed plus 47x square minus 75x plus 10. See, it is now the function type will be a little bit complicated. So when you will deal with the engineering problems, that means maybe your discipline problem, electrical engineering problem. So there the function will be a little bit complicated. Okay, so in those cases, you need to take care, you need to understand how you will going to actually implement this PSO algorithm. Okay, because your objective, see, last semester you have learned what is the genetic algorithm. Now you are basically going through this new algorithm, the particle sum optimization. So these techniques are available. These techniques are available. Only you need to apply. But how to apply those things? There will be the MATLAB code. Okay, so those things I will discuss in later part. First, I will discuss what is the PSO algorithm in detail, so that you will understand in detail that what is how you are going to implement this thing. Okay, so I will show you step by step the iterative process, how the PSO will work. Okay, because only if I just tell you the algorithm, you will not understand those things. So calculation wise, step wise, the algorithm will discuss in detail, step by step. Then it will be easy for you to understand how this algorithm will work in the real life problems. So you see, this is a function. So it is very easy to plot this function. Okay, so let us say this function is plotted between -1 to 7, +7. Okay, so this x is plotted. So the nature of the curve is something like this. Okay, now from this curve, we can see there is a value at this portion. That means this is the lowest portion. Okay, and there is another value which is coming at this portion. So that means there are two minimum value. Okay, but from the figure it is clear that this particular value, it is the basically lowest value of the x. Okay. But when you are calculating, the algorithm will calculate this minimum value. The algorithm cannot understand what is this particular lowest one or this lowest one. So sometimes it may so happen that the algorithm will stuck up to this point. Okay. So it cannot reach this value. So if we are getting such kind of values, that is known as the basically local optima, or the local optima means local minimum value. And this one actually this lowest one, this particular value, it is basically known as the global optima. So global optima means this is the actually the minimum value. Okay. So but this particular minimum value, it is the pseudo minimum value. It is not the actual minimum value. The function will actually understand this is the minimum value, but in real life, or the actually, if we calculate this minimum, so this is not the real one. So that's why this is basically known as the local optima, and this particular value is known as the global optima, because this term will come in the optimization algorithm. So you should know this particular nomenclature in detail. That's why I'm giving these examples. Now let us understand what is known as the uniform distribution. So uniform distribution, from the term it is clear that something a complete let us say uniformly it is distributed. Okay, something. Okay, so it is like that only. So we'll understand what is this uniform distribution in relation with this optimization technique. The uniform distribution, sometimes called a rectangular distribution, is a distribution where the probability of occurrence is the same for all values of x. It has the constant probability. So we can understand that if we have a uniform distribution of a particular function is uniformly distributed. So at every point, every value, the value of x will be remains same. So that means if you substitute the value of x from let us say minus infinity to plus infinity, the value of y remains same. It will not change. Okay. So for instance, so the probability of occurrence of those values will be same. So for instance, if a die is thrown, then the probability of obtaining any of the 6 possible outcomes, because if normally we play, let us say Ludo. Okay. So Ludo, when we are playing, so there are 6 phases, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So when a particular player is throwing that particular dice, what will happen? The probability of occurrence of that particular die will be 1/6, because it is something because if, at that particular instant, let us say the die is thrown, so the output is, let us say, 2. Okay, so the probability of occurrence that particular 2 is 1/6. Okay, because there are 6 phases and that particular occurrence is occurring once. Okay, so for that particular instant, the probability is 1/6. So now, since all outcomes are equally probable, the distribution is uniform. So when the player is throwing that dice, it may so happen in the first instance he is getting 2, second instance it may be 5, third instance it is 4, fifth instance let us say 6, so something like that. So probability of occurrence of all those 6 phases are equal. So we can say in this particular case that that particular incident or the occurrence, so that is basically having the uniform distribution. So therefore, if a uniform distribution is divided into equally spaced intervals, there will be an equal number of members of the population in each interval. So you see that it is a uniform. It is a kind of uniform distribution. Okay, so everywhere it is equal. But non-uniform distribution means, suppose here this value is something, let us say 1, the next instance it is 2, next instance it is 4, then 6, something like that. So it is non-uniformly distributed. It is not equally distributed. The probability of occurrence for this particular non-uniform distribution, it is not equal. So it is something different. Now next is the probability density function, which you should be familiar with this term actually. Okay, later on it may require, but we'll just give some glimpses of these particular functions. Okay, So the probability density function, it is known as the PDF, and the cumulative distribution function, it is known as the CDF for a continuous uniform distribution in the interval a, b are given by. So this is the function. So just like your step function, ramp function, then impulse function, you know those functions. What is the nature of those functions? So here also in this optimization, let us say subject, we have this particular PDF, that is the probability distribution function, then cumulative distribution function. So those functions are there. So we need to understand how this function is actually distributed. Okay. So fx equal to 0 for x less than 8. So x less than 8 is 0. Then between a to b, it is 1 by b minus a. So 1 by b minus a means this value. So between a to b, it is 1 by b minus a. And x greater than b, it is 0. So then it is kind of a pulse function. So it is a kind of pulse. Between a to b, it will exist. So that value is 1 by b minus a. So this function is known as the PDF function, or it is known as the probability distribution function. Next, we'll understand what is the cumulative distribution function. So cumulative distribution function, it is defined as fx equal to 0 for x less than 8. So x less than 8 is 0. Then between a to b, it is x minus a minus divided by b minus a. So it is kind of a ramp. It is a kind of ramp. From a to b, it is continuously increasing in nature. From x greater than b, it is 1. So x greater than b is 1. So we can understand that basically this fx, this function is known as the cumulative distribution function. This is a cumulative distribution function, and this is your probability distribution function. Now let us understand what is the basic model of the PSO algorithm. So we'll go in detail. That's why I am not jumping. I am not actually giving any straight jump. So you can understand this PSO algorithm, how you can implement it actually in the computer. Okay. So you can take a problem and you can solve it. So that is the actual skill which you will have after attending these classes. Okay. So anyone can actually, if out of those students who are attending these classes, if you wish to do some problem in the electrical engineering, you can directly contact with me. You can send me any WhatsApp. So those who are interested to work somehow more on this particular line, okay, and they can, I will guide you, okay, and something. Let us say if you are interested to go for some of the kind of a higher level engineering, electrical engineering problem solving. So I will help you. Okay, so interested student can join. So they will be definitely they will be getting some better input from my side. Okay, so because you will be able to give some of the let us say a good project on this particular aspect. So we'll see that. Okay, those who are interested, they can contact me. Now these two scientists, Kennedy and Everhart, first established a solution to the complex nonlinear optimization problem by imitating the behavior of the bird flocks. So these two scientists, they have actually first developed this algorithm, PSO algorithm, that is known as the particle swarm optimization. And they generated the concept of function optimization by means of a particle swarm. So I have discussed this some of the glimpses. That's when the birds are flocking, or let us say fish schooling, those phenomena actually imitated in this particular algorithm. And how it is implemented, that is the beauty of this particular algorithm. So consider the global optima for an n-dimensional function defined by f of f is function of x1, x2, x3 up to xn, and that is f is basically function of x, where capital X consists of n number of variables, x1, x2, x3 up to xn, where xi is the such variable which represents the set of free variables of the given function. The aim is to find a value x such that the function fx is either a maximum or a minimum in the search space. So what is our objective? Objective is there will be a function, a big function will be given to you. Okay, so don't get actually afraid of those functions. It is very easy. Only thing the algorithm will take care to those things. You need to understand only algorithm. The algorithm will take care of this function. So you don't need to take care of this function. Whatever function will be given, so you need to first identify what are the variables are there in this particular function. So let us say it is a generalized version. So here fx, this x is having x1 to xn. So there are n number of variables. Okay, there are n number of variables. Those variables will be moving in the search space. Okay, that particular search space will be defined, and ultimately you are going to minimize this function fx. Okay, so is it clear? Anyone can just can tell me what is the meaning of this fx? Anyone can tell what is this fx? What, how we are going to implement this fx? Please tell me so that I can understand that you are actually following this. Hello? Hello? Please don't be silent. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Please tell me what is this fx? Basically, means what is this fx and how they are related with x1, x2, xn is what is this actually? Just tell me what I have just told now. How you are going to implement this in your PSR. Just it may be wrong. Please share your whatever you have understood. I will not mind if it is wrong. But only thing I would like to know from you that whatever you have understood, so that I can give you more input. Okay, this is not examination, this is class. So you can share your opinion. Okay, please tell me. क्या समझ में आया वो बताइए. What is this fx? Only this part you tell. कुछ समझ में नहीं आया? हेलो. हेलो. हाँ, yes, please बताइए. What do you want to say?
अभी हम ट्रेन में हैं।
हाँ, बताइए.
सर मेरा आवाज सही से नहीं जा रहा, ट्रेन में हैं।
हाँ, अभी सुनाई दे रहे हैं, बताइए. अभी बताइए क्या है ये.
इस इफेक्ट से पता चलता है कि जो है वो मिनिमम है या मैक्सिमम है.
हाँ, हाँ. So x, it consists of a number of variables x1 to xn. Okay, so first you are supposed to identify what are the variables are there in the problem. So first you have to identify those variables. Now identifying those variables will move in the search space. Okay, so you have to initialize, those steps will come. So these particular variables will move in the search space and they will actually basically find out that what is the minimum or the maximum value of this particular function fx, f of capital X. Okay, now it is clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. I want to take your feedback, because if I am telling my person, you are not understanding anything, then it is useless. Okay, so you will tell me that yes sir, I have not understood whatever you have told. Okay, so you will interrupt me. Okay, so that thing I want. Okay, or otherwise give your some input, so that I will be able to understand that what you are actually learning and whether your learning is correct or not, or whether I am able to deliver it properly. That is the main objective. Okay, so thank you for your input.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so let us say consider the function given by f1 equal to x1 square plus x2 square. Okay, so let us say a function is given, any function f1 is equal to x1 square plus x2 square, and f2 equal to x1 into sine of 4 pi x2 minus x2 into sine of 4 pi x1 plus pi plus 1. So you see, this is a kind of a complicated function. Second function, you understand. Okay, so if you plot this function, okay, this is a 3-dimensional plot. In MATLAB, you can do this thing. See, you just this is my homework given to you. You just try in MATLAB how to do the 3D plot of any function. Okay, next class, you will share your screen and you will show me that, sir, we have done it. And this is the way we can actually plot these 3D functions. Okay, because this will actually help you in your project work also. Okay, so how to plot a function in MATLAB. Okay, so it is very easy, and if you just do in the MATLAB, okay, there is a specific command. Just search in the Google, so you will get those things. Okay, it is not a very means new things. So just search on the Google and how to plot this type of thing, and just show me this, sir, we have got this function. Okay, so that will be actually help you that how to get this function. So if you plot this function, my objective is it is why I am showing this graph. So you see, if this first function, if it is plotted, so the shape is something like this. Okay, so here you see this is the minimum value. Okay, and at the tip, this is the minimum value. But when we plot this particular function, there are so many glitches it is coming. So there are so many minimum values we are getting at different instances. Okay, so that's why when a function is having a one minimum value, then that particular function is more. It is called a unimodal function. And when you have this multiple kind of glitches, then it is known as the multimodal function. Okay. So this is the basically a difference. What is the unimodal and what is the multimodal function? So it is from the figure, it is clear that the global minimum of the function f1 at x1, x2 is equal to 0, 0 at the origin of the function f1 in the search space. That means it is a unimodal function which has only one minimum. However, to find the global minimum is not so easy for multimodal function which have multi-local minima. So there are, for this case, it is a multi-local. Okay, there are many local optima. Now, this f2 function which has a rough search space with multiple peaks, so many agents have to start from different initial locations and continue exploring the search space until at least one agent reach the global optimum position. During this process, all the agents can communicate and share their information among themselves. So this is the basically something. It is the definition of the unimodal and the multimodal function. So the particle swarm optimization algorithm, it is a multi-agent parallel search technique which maintains a swarm of particles, and each particle represents a potential solution in the swarm. So multi-dimensional, multi-agent. Why it is multi-agent? Because if you have n number of variables will move equal. It is a parallel processing. Okay, so they will move in the search space and they will find out where the actually food is there, where that particular solution is there. So they will find out that. So all particles fly through a multi-dimensional search space where each particle is adjusting its position according to its own experience and that of the neighbors. So we have actually discussed this thing a little bit. So if let us say a group of birds, if it is moving in the sky, or a group of fishes in the pond, they are moving in the water. So they will actually move with the help of two things. First, they will understand what is their own position, own experience. And second thing, what is actually the neighbors they are doing. Neighbors means the other birds or other fishes, or how they are moving, which direction they are moving. So that particular bird will follow the path of the group. So they will not be isolated. They will not always try to move in the isolated way. Okay, they see, if let us say one bird is flying, so 4 or 5 birds will move in that particular direction. So that is, they will think that a group is moving, so there may be some chances the food they will get. So I will also move in that particular direction. So that way they are moving. So basically there are two kinds of experience that is shared in this particular algorithm. One is their own experience and the second is the experience of the neighbors. So suppose xit denote the position vector of the particle in the multi-dimensional search space at time step t. Okay, then the position of each particle is updated in the search space by. So you see this particular let us say at any instant at tth iteration, xi is the, let us say, the particle value. Okay, So xi means I varies from 1 to n. So n number of variables are there. So x1, x2, x3, x4 like that. And xit, t is the basically the iteration cycle. So at tth iteration cycle, the value of xi is xit. Now, when we are going to update the position of that particular variable in the next iteration, this should be xit plus 1. So how we'll update it? We'll basically add their velocity. So now you will tell, sir, how we are adding this position with the velocity. But this velocity is basically displacement per unit time. So this is also basically a position. Okay, this basically VI means this displacement per unit time. Okay, so we are adding the velocity of the particle I. Okay, so at t plus 1, so the position of that particular particle at t plus 1th iteration will be equal to xit plus vit plus 1, where xi0 is between x minimum and x maximum. So vit is the velocity vector of the particle I that derives the observation process and reflects both the own experience knowledge and the social experience knowledge from all the particles. And u, x min and x max is the uniform distribution where x min and x max are its minimum and maximum values respectively. So this is the actually minimum and maximum. It is basically lie within the minimum and maximum. It should not cross the range. So therefore, in a PSO method, all particles are initiated randomly and evaluated to compute the fitness together with the finding the personal base, the best value of each particle, and the global base, that is the best value of the particle in the entire zone. So PSO will basically, it runs on the two basic concepts. One is the personal based concept and second is the global based concept. So personal based means every particle individually they are having their own best value. So I have given example in the last, maybe in the first class, that there is a group of students. So out of, let us say, 8 semester, every student they are having their own personal best. Up to 4th semester, let us say 2nd semester, the marks was best. So that marks is personal best. But among the group, there is a topper. So that is the basically global best. So this way you have to understand. So every particle, every bird, every fishes, they are having their own personal best, and among the group there is a global best. So those things, those concepts, the concepts of global based and concept of personal based, it is implemented in the PSO algorithm. So how it is implemented, we'll see that thing. So after that, a loop starts to find an optimum solution. In the loop, first the particle's velocity is updated by the personal and global based, and then each particle position is updated by the current velocity. So first thing is we need to update what is the velocity. So here you see in the last case, this is the position updation. So this is known as the how we will update the position of the particle. So this is the position updation. Similarly, we have a how to update the velocity. So in the PSO, there are only 2 states which is actually governing this whole algorithm. So first step is the velocity updation and second step is the position updation. Now the loop is ended with a stopping criterion and predetermined inactives. So if you can understand what is the personal based and what is the global based, and second thing is these two, particularly let us say velocity updation and the position updation. So these 2 things you need to understand. So basically 2 PSO algorithms, namely the global based and the local based PSO, have been developed, which differ in the size of their neighbors. So when this PSO algorithm it was developed, so there are 2 kinds of concept it is coming. One is the global based PSO, another is the local based PSO. Out of these 2 PSO variants, the global based PSO is much better than the local based PSO. But we'll understand in brief this both the algorithms. Okay, both the types, let us say, both the types. So now the global based PSO, is a method where the position of each particle is influenced by the best fit particle in the entire. So best one, okay, best particle, best student, best bird, best, let us say, fishes, okay, best fish, okay, so like that. So which one is the best? So whatever the experience of that best one will be shared among all. Okay, so suppose we normally used to see in the social media, let us say a particular candidate got cracked in the, let us say, IAS exam or any kind of a good examination, competitive examination. So there what will happen, that experience is shared through the social media, because how that candidate got that particular position or achieved that particular position. So best experience is always shared in the social behavior. Okay. So the same concept it is there in the PSO algorithm. The best one, how that best one is achieved in this particular process. Okay. So it uses a star social network topology where the social information obtained from all the particles in the entire. So who is the best? That information is shared among all. Okay. So in this method, each individual particle I, there is a 112 where n is greater than 1, has a current position in the search space Si, a current velocity Vi, and a personal base position in the search space, that is P base. So the personal based position corresponds to the position in the search space where particle I had the smallest value as determined by the objective function f considered as considering a minimization problem. So if you are, let us say, if you are minimizing a function, okay, now what is the personal base of that particular function? So let us say there are n number of variables, x1, x2, x3 up to xn. So let us say the variable x2. So x2 has its own minimum value at, let us say, third iteration. So that is the minimum value that x2 is having. So that particular value, it will continue. It will not change its value. So that is the best value it has achieved so far. So that x2, whatever in the third iteration it has achieved, so it will continue with that particular value. So that is the personal base of that particular variable x2. In addition, the position yielding the lowest value among all the personal based is called the global based position, which is denoted by the G best. G best means in the group there is a best one, so that best position it is shared among all. So considering the minimization problem, suppose in optimization it may be a minimization or it may be a maximization. So suppose you let us consider you are doing a minimization problem. Then the personal base position P based at the next time step t plus 1, it is calculated. How we are calculating? P based at t plus 1 will be, how we will calculate? If f of xi t plus 1 is greater than P based. That means if you are getting the function value at t plus 1th iteration is greater than the P based. So what will happen? Will not take, because it is a minimization problem. So the P based value will be retained. Now let us say if f of xi t plus 1, the function value, if it is less than equal to P based value, so that means we are getting something new solution. So we'll substitute by a new solution, that is xi t plus 1. So that means always we are choosing the minimum one. Which one is the minimum? So that minimum one will be retained. Okay. And that minimum will be actually the personal base of that particular variable. Now the global based G based at the same step, how we are going to calculate the G based. So we have a group of personal based, because if there are n number of particles, so out of those n number of particles, there will be n number of personal based will be there, because every particle they are having own personal based. So those personal based will be taken together and we'll calculate what is the minimum of that. So that is the basically group based. So collectively in a group, there are n number of particles are there. So out of those particles, and let us say the third particle, it is having the minimum value. So that is the best one. That is the group best. Okay. So any doubt up to this point? Any doubt? Okay. So I hope there is no doubt. Okay, just a minute. Okay, thank you. We'll close this meeting. We'll meet in the next class. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.